To understand why the massacre happened, we need to first understand the historical context behind it. The year was 1919 and India was under British colonial rule. The First World War had just ended, you see, but the after effects were still felt across the globe, particularly in India, where the discontent for British rule was growing. You see, the Indians were promised freedom from Britain if they fought for them in the First World War, and fight they did, as over 1 million Indians were deployed overseas. After the war had ended, however, Britain broke that promise and wished to rule India for another 1,000 years. So after the war, Britain implemented a new law, and it was this new law that came to be the tipping point for the Indians, the Repressive Rowlatt Act of 1919. Rowlatt Act of 1919 allowed the British to imprison any Indian suspected of sedition without trial. Effectively, this meant anyone could be arrested for any reason at all. You see, Britain was already ruling with an iron fist for over half a century at this point, and this new act was a way to silence any Indian who posed a threat to the British government. This new law was seen as unjust by the entire nation and sparked widespread protests across the country. Jallianwala Bagh is a public garden located in Amritsar in the north of India. In the centre of the garden is a well believed to be 100 feet deep. On April 13th, 1919, thousands of people had gathered at this garden. The crowd consisted of men, women and children who have come together to protest against this Rowlatt Act. This day was also the festival of Vaisakhi, so many people that day were not there to protest but to celebrate the festival. This public garden was surrounded by high walls with only a few narrow exits. With this information already being known to the government, the people would be boxed in with no escape. General Reginald Dyer, the military commander in Amritsar at the time, decided to take drastic action to get rid of this crowd gathered in this public garden on April 13th. Without warning, he arrived armed to the teeth and ordered his troops to block the exits with military tanks and cars. Before the people could even garnish what was happening, the troops were ordered to open fire. It was infamously reported that General Dyer ordered his troops to fire at the most dense parts of the crowd. With nowhere to run, innocent men, women and children were gunned down mercilessly in a firing squad-like fashion. Narrow exits, the high walls and sheer panic led to a horrifying stampede. Many jumped into the well to escape the barrage of bullets coming from every angle. It is believed that 120 dead bodies were found at the bottom of this well. For about 10 minutes, the soldiers fired thousands of rounds of ammunition into the crowd. The barrage of bullets finally came to a halt once the park that was filled with laughter just moments ago was now tilled with dead bodies and the harrowing moans of the wounded. The official British report stated that 379 people were killed and 1,200 people were wounded. But today it is widely understood that this was just a lie. According to the Indian National Congress, the numbers are estimated to be much higher, with at least 1,000 killed. The very next day, General Reginald Dyer gave a speech to the people of Amritsar. "You people know well that I am a soldier and a military man. Do you want war or peace? If you wish for a war, then the government is prepared for it. And if you want peace, then obey my orders. Else I will shoot. For me, the battlefield of France and Amritsar is the same." This massacre sent shockwaves across the globe, so much so that even Winston Churchill dubbed it as unutterably monstrous. General Reginald Dyer was removed from duty but faced no major consequences for his actions. After all, he too was just following orders. The Morning Post dubbed Dyer as the man who saved India, and upon his return to Britain, he was gifted the sum of £23,000. That is the equivalent of £1.5 million today. This event exposed the brutal reality of British rule and the extreme lengths they were willing to go to maintain control. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Tagore were profoundly affected by this massacre. Tagore even renounced his knighthood in protest. This massacre galvanized the Indian population like no other, leading to a surge of support for the independence movement, which eventually led to India being freed from British rule. Today, Jallianwala Bagh stands as a solemn reminder of the sacrifices Indians have made for their freedom. This site is now a national memorial, visited by thousands every year to pay their respects of that tragic day. The massacre remains a crucial chapter in India's history, a symbol of the brutalities of colonial rule, and a testament to the resilience of the Indian people to stand against tyranny and refuse to submit time and time again, even in the face of death.